Welcome to the Gauntlet. The next 4 games are the hardest stretch of the season, and Washington looks to go through it without the help of Trent Williams. First up is the Vikings, whose hot start seems to have stalled of late. Can the Skins take advantage for win number 5? We'll talk about it on the Hogstyle.
Welcome to the Hogstyle with your crew, Alex Zeese, Steve Thomas, and Robbie Duncan. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
All right, welcome to the show, everybody. This is Alex here with you, and we have Steve and Robbie, guys. Hi, how's it going? Nice little bye week we've had here.
Oh, I just don't know what to do with myself when we don't have games during the season. It's just immensely odd and weird. And so I wish we played either 17 games or just didn't have a bye and just let these players go, 4 straight months without a break, just for my own personal amusement.
I just sit in my basement the whole time and stare blankly at a wall. It's really depressing.
I can eat anywhere I want for Sunday for lunch. I don't have to go to a Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever kind of sports bar place this time. I was like, actually, we can have a decent lunch today.
Right. Oh, what do they call it on the show The League? Super Special Wife Day or something? Mm-hmm. When the one guy would always make that the one Sunday he would take his wife out.
Did she automatically know it was a bye week?
Yeah. Well, I guess let's start off at the top of the show with some bittersweet news. If you are living under a rock and haven't noticed on Twitter, Robbie is going to be leaving the show, which, sucks for us, but we're very happy for Robbie because it's a step forward for him in his attempt to turn this into a real career.
Wait, this isn't a career?
I'm not making money.
I'm taking a huge pay cut, guys. This is a
From
huge pay
zero
cut.
to zero.
Yeah, Robbie, listen, I mean, we love you on the show. We're going to miss you, having you doing all these shows with us. It's been a year and a half. We started this thing together, and we wish you all the best, certainly, and you'll always have friends on the Hogstyle should you ever stoop to coming back and slumming with us again. So we appreciate it, and I wish you the best of luck.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much.
But if we make it big, we are just totally going to leave you in our wake.
And
I wouldn't hold it against you.
And of course, along with that, it's kind of like the old British thing, the king is dead, long live the king.
Yes.
We are now looking to replace Robbie. While Robbie is still on this show. Robbie's going to be certainly obviously on this show, and he may or may not be back for a couple more shows. But point is, we're going to replace Robbie. We have a couple candidates out there. However, if you can, in your own unique way, you think you can duplicate the contributions that Robbie makes to the show, let us know. Contact us, DM us on Twitter. And we'll certainly.
Or you can, if you don't want to DM us on Twitter, you can always send an email to us at thehogstye@gmail.com.
Yeah,
there you go.
You don't necessarily have to be a big-time college football player. This is your own unique contributions, but we are looking for someone that is more of an X's and O's type. So if you fit that role, please let us know somehow, some way, and we will consider you. We are going to have a series of tryouts for people in the coming weeks. So we will see how that goes. So that is that.
And I will also say
we're going to put you through a combine.
Yeah, it's an audio combine.
Run the 40.
So, not to go too behind the scenes, if you are interested, there's a couple simple requirements. You need to have Skype and know how to use it. And if you get on the show, well, we actually had to make that special for Steve for a while.
Yeah, true.
I always had a microphone. It just wasn't a good one.
And Kelly never had a microphone either.
Kelly still
that's true. Kelly never had a microphone.
Kelly still doesn't have a microphone.
Yeah. So those are the things that the mic I think would come later.
We'll work all those details out. Look, the point is, if you can talk, and you like hearing your own voice,
sound credible.
Yeah, you sound credible. You have something of a motor mouth. At least you can fill the time. You sound credible. You know football. We want to hear from you. We'll train you on all that other stuff, on how we do the show. Behind the scenes, we'll figure all that stuff out.
Well, but if they want to do it, they at least need to be able to get onto Skype. That's the minimum
Rule number one.
Yeah, rule number one. And also, even though we're going to be doing some interviews, we're also kind of thinking big picture about the show. We're not going to get into that right now, but who knows? If we find like a bunch of very talented people, maybe there's more shows. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But so let's move on though, because we have a game, and we really should talk about what's going to happen in this game.
Vikings week.
Yes.
It's Vikings week.
Yeah, it's Vikings week. I don't know. Oh, it's homecoming too. Let's not forget.
Oh, yeah.
It's homecoming,
It's
special uniforms and gray face masks, and someone said gray pants, which I think they mean khaki pants, because I don't think we have gray pants.
Gray pants.
But,
Good God, that's awful. No, the most important
Yeah.
thing is that Bobby Beathard is being inducted to the Ring of Fame this week. I'm
yeah.
stunned.
That's
Stunned that it has taken this long to get him in the Ring of Fame.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's true.
I mean, you have guys in the Ring of Fame who never played for the team, and he was not inducted.
He's the architect of 4 Super Bowl
Yeah.
teams. It's mind-boggling.
How's he not in the Hall of Fame? That's an even better question.
Well, I mean, we could get into that if you want. I personally think
Yeah.
the Hall of Fame voters overlook a lot of worthy Redskins. Joe Jacoby, go to our website
sure.
and, you can learn how to help him out, write all those voters. We haven't forgotten about
But-
that.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, didn't Beathard, wasn't he with the Miami Dolphins during their glory run, too? I mean, like, he was with all sorts of great teams. It blows my mind that Beathard isn't a Hall of Famer. He should be in every Ring of Fame of every team he was ever working for. Like I said, blows my mind. And I'm happy to see he's going to get in this week.
Me too.
But, yeah, the other thing is, of course, that means they're going to go with those throwback uniforms that should have the leather helmet and don't, because of the
Good.
stupid helmet rules. I saw an
Good.
article where somebody was saying they think that should be the full-time uniform at home.
What?
I don't know.
Leather helmets or the...
No, the throwback uniform with the gold numbers.
Can we stop with the uniform stuff, for goodness sakes? There's nothing wrong with our uniforms as they are. I don't like... Why change something that's already good? I don't understand it. This is just a case of the NFL wanting to sell more jerseys. Just leave it alone. We have a home uniform and a road uniform, and let it go. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's a excuse to sell jerseys, but it's also just a time to just mix it up some. It's you see the same things every week. There's nothing wrong with just mixing it up a little bit, just to keep things fresh.
Yes, there is something.
I have
Yes,
no
there is
problem with
something.
it.
wrong with that.
I don't mind
What?
the throwbacks.
What's wrong
I
with
like
it? What's
I
wrong
like
with it?
nostalgia.
There's a tradition to it. Okay, we are an old franchise. These uniforms have been around
Right.
forever. There's no reason to change something that's not broken.
Steve, do you know how many times we've changed our uniforms in our illustrious history?
realize that, but
it's like 47 times. We've changed it a lot
don't-
in
and
the
we
history
won't
of the
stop.
team.
Isn't it playing to your tradition though by wearing your old school uniforms or going to these throwback style? I have no problem with it at all. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't always stay.
Yes, you can.
You
There's no reason to never.
No, you
yes,
can't.
Yes, you can.
Mix it up.
Steve,
Have fun.
I'm with you when it comes to black uniforms and yellow uniforms
That's just
and that kind of
absurd.
stuff.
The black.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Whoever thought of the, there was a rumor. What he's talking about is that there was a rumor we were going to have a black jersey at one point in time for
Right.
some like
Right.
alternate jersey, which is just ridiculous because it's not even a Redskin color.
I'm just gonna come out and say it. I know
You
we're
want to
not
see it?
wearing
We know.
No, but yeah, I'm gonna come out and say it too. That the rumored gold on gold color rush jerseys that we were gonna wear or uniform.
Yuck.
I was a big fan.
Oh,
maybe
God,
not the
Rob.
pants.
man.
Maybe not the gold on gold.
This is why
but
we're
I
getting
like
rid of
the
you.
gold
This
jerseys.
is why you're fired from the show.
I like the gold jerseys. I think it's a good look.
They
But
look like they're quarterback practice jerseys is what they are. That's what Kirk wears when you don't hit him.
maybe that should be the poll of the week.
No, I'm not.
Did you
No.
did you like the gold jersey?
No.
No. We're not.
The only,
We're not
if
going
I
that
did a
far.
poll
People-
like that, it's going to be one option. No, and that's it.
I
I
mean,
bet more. I got more. I bet
you
more
know,
people
I
on my
love
side
talking
than
about
yours.
this kind of stuff, but like even I think that's a silly poll. No, I'm with Robbie. I like the idea of throwbacks because I like nostalgia. I would love to see them do like the spear helmet again, stuff like
Yes.
that. From because it's like it pays homage to guys like Sam Huff and Sonny Jurgensen and the guys who came before.
Well,
so that's why I have no
let
issue
me
with it.
Just be clear too. I'm more okay than I'm letting on with having like a 1 week a year throwback time.
Right.
That doesn't offend
It's
me
our
too much.
homecoming thing is what it
Yeah,
would
it
do.
doesn't offend me too much. What really offends me is when we start tinkering with the actual uniform. We have things like color rush uniforms, and let's change
Right.
this, and let's make the pants this different color. Let's go all white because that's certainly a Redskin thing. That's what starts to irritate me. The
Yeah,
throwbacks.
I never thought the all white looked very good. So
Well, it's not a Redskin.
I'm with
color.
you there.
It looks like a
Yeah,
it looks like
it-
it's a practice uniform.
well, yeah, I mean that's what they wear at practice is all white.
So
Yeah.
Well, let's not focus too much on that
we
anymore.
got off on a tangent again. People, it seems to happen
yeah.
all the time.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was fun.
I could do a whole show about that, but
Listen.
I would be the only person to listen.
Yeah, and you would be the only person talking too.
Yeah. Well, no, you've talked a lot. Well, let's get to the two biggest stories I think for this game. Early on in the paper and stuff, they're reporting that Morgan Moses is injured. He's got an ankle injury, and Deshaun Jackson was out today and wearing street clothes.
I will say this:
If Trent Williams,
let Robbie-
if Trent Williams wasn't hurt, this wouldn't have been a problem with Morgan
Right.
Moses. But now that he's, no, I'm sorry, did I say Trent Williams was hurt?
Trent
No,
Williams is
suspended,
out because he's
yes.
stupid.
If he was not suspended,
For
this
being an
wouldn't be a
idiot,
problem with Morgan being hurt because Ty Inseki would be right there and he'd have all week to practice and be ready to play right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
But now you got Inseki, working on becoming our starting left tackle for the next 4 weeks.
Is the
Right.
answer
Now
to
you
move
have-
Scherf to right tackle, Robbie? What's the answer?
Absolutely not. Leave him where he is. No
Mm-hmm.
need to ruin his groove at right guard. Just
Right.
let him do his thing there. One thing I would not be surprised if they do it. I don't think they will, but they experimented with it in training camp a lot here and there. And when I was there watching them, he rotated in a lot during one-on-ones, and that was Ari Kwanjo. He came in at tackle on both sides. It's not probably something that they're really going to consider for this week, but
Right.
it's something that they've been experimenting with before, so it wouldn't surprise me if that happens. But the real person that's going to be playing at right tackle, besides Morgan Moses, if he can't make it, is Vincent Painter.
Right.
Well, I
right.
think-
And that's
I
a
think, Rob, by the way-
big question mark there.
Oh, I think
I
Ari
don't- 'cause-
told us when
yeah.
we talked to him that he was practicing it a little bit at tackle, didn't he?
Right.
Yeah,
well,
he
he
did-
said
I
he
think he did,
practiced
too.
every spot on the line because that's what they do
Yeah.
as backups.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
there's also the new
Yeah.
guy we signed, Blaine Clausel. We signed off the Ravens practice squad. I don't know if you know anything about him.
Nope.
So, Vincent
Yeah, I mean,
Painter's
I'd
gonna-
imagine nobody knows anything about him.
Yeah,
I hadn't even seen his name before
yeah, me neither.
before we signed
But
him.
the issue, obviously,
But-
I mean, so tell us, what about Vincent Painter? What do you know about Vincent Painter?
What I know about him is that he's a very athletic lineman. He's kind of like
Okay.
that guy that has the all the measurements and intangibles that you look for, but just hasn't put it all together, which is why he was like, I think, maybe 7th round or undrafted.
I think he
type
was
player.
undrafted, yeah.
Undrafted, yeah. Well, it's just another case of really good athlete just couldn't really get the techniques and nuances down quite. So that's the concern.
And now he gets to
You
face
have
a team that has 21 sacks.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. This is not the time for us to be missing both our starting tackles.
Well, can we just kind
because
of you want to just address the Vikings defensive line now?
yeah,
up front,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's start with the Vikings defense versus our offense.
Well, and I'll just say that we want Robbie's input into this, but if you look at the numbers, this might be the number one defense in the NFL from strictly
I
from
think
a
so.
statistical standpoint. And I do have something to point out about this, so I'm going somewhere with this. They're number one in points surrendered with 126, number 3 in total yards, number 3 in yards per game surrendered, number 3 in yards per play, number 3 in passing yards, number 6 in rushing yards, number 11 in rushing yards per attempt. There are, however, some little bit of good news. They, like we said, 21 sacks,
Right.
which is 8th. Red zone efficiency, they're only ranked 20th, 75.89%.
Their
down,
defense?
Yep. Third down.
Wow, I would not have expected that.
A third down conversion rate, 38.3, which is ranked 12th. So, but 10 interceptions plus 12 turnover ratio. So,
Right.
I think excuse me for coughing on you guys. what I think I see in the numbers here, and if you look at the games they've played, this plays out. I think this defense, the numbers, the statistical production that this defense has put out is aided tremendously by the interceptions. These drives are ending because I'm not saying they're bad. They're great defense, but if they don't get the interceptions or the turnovers, it doesn't go as well. They played the Chicago Bears two weeks ago. Chicago put 403 yards up on them. They lost a game, but 403 yards, and surprise, there were no turnovers. So this is a team that if you can avoid the turnovers, avoid the Kirk Cousins dumb interceptions, avoid the Matt Jones fumbles, it will go much smoother for us, and it won't be quite as imposing as it may seem. That's my opinion into it. Robbie, what do you see?
Yeah, and they create those turnovers by doing a lot of crazy looks and try to disguise their coverages and blitzes and stuff. So that's the thing that they're going to be doing, and trying to get into Kirk's head and make him panic, and make forced pressured decisions, and that's what leads to the turnovers. I mean, along with their really well schemed defense led by their head coach Mike Zimmer, they have a really solid. I mean, what really makes this defense work is their front seven. I mean, they have some really good linebackers. Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks, both really young, talented linebackers that make a lot of plays. And Chad Greenway is one of their team captains, who's a very solid guy too. And then you look at their D-line. Probably one of the more underrated pass rushers in Everson Griffin, who's very much like Junior Gillette in the fact that his style as a pass rusher is very diverse. His moves are... He'll throw any move at you. If you stop that first move, he has a counter to that, to what you do. So Ty Nsekhe's going to have a rough go at it because Everson Griffin's just very smart in how he rushes. He reacts to what the tackle does and then makes. Well,
Griffin is leading the team in interception or in sacks too. We'd point out he's got 6 sacks on the season.
Yeah, he's a very good pass rusher, and I mean, I'm not too worried about Ty blocking Everson Griffin. It's going to be a battle, but you just have to really stick to your fundamentals and trust in the technique because, Griffin's one of those guys that's very fundamental in his pass rushes.
This team, this defense seems to be better against the pass than the run. Again, just looking at the numbers, the Chicago Bears put up 158 yards rushing on this team, and 69 of those yards was one run. Okay, bear that in mind. But nonetheless, 158 yards, 158 yards. The Lions into half bad. I think they put up 97 yards. I believe the number was, but 11th in rushing yards per attempt. Which is still good. I'm not saying that's bad, but if they have a spot where they have a little bit more leeway in their defense, it looks to be the rushing defense. So that would hopefully clue us in to maybe feature Rob Kelly more than we otherwise would.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I think if you're talking about a defense that loves to feast on the interception, which they do. I mean, I went and watched highlights of all their games today, and all they do is jump routes left and right and make interceptions. You got to run the ball. You got to run the ball, keep Kirk from throwing it 50 times like we did versus Cincinnati. Because if he throws it 50 times, there's going to be a lot of picks in that.
That is not going to go well.
We're going to lose.
Yeah, we're going to lose if that happens.
Yeah.
I didn't get to the other guys on that D line, but at D tackle they got Linval Joseph, who's a very, very solid defensive tackle. He came from the Giants to the Vikings. A lot of people in Redskins Nation wanted the Redskins to sign Linval Joseph because he's such a good tackle. And then behind him is Sharif Floyd. I think he's got an injury problem right now, but when he's healthy, he's a very talented defensive tackle too. He's very good at getting to the backfield and creating problems for the quarterback and running backs in the backfield.
Linval Joseph actually didn't practice on Wednesday. He's got a shoulder injury. So, it's early in the week when we're recording this. I mean, that doesn't mean he's not going to practice Thursday and Friday and play, but it's serious enough that at least he set out. For those of you who don't really realize it, because I follow these injury reports, Wednesday is always the day the guys that are nicked up sit out. And so it doesn't necessarily translate to they're not going to play. But he does have a legit injury. And Floyd has a knee problem too. He didn't practice today either. So, and their middle linebacker Kendricks has a concussion. Linebacker Barr, who you mentioned, has an ankle injury. So they are a little bit banged up on the defensive front seven, for whatever that's worth. It may not be worth anything, but and incidentally, our injury report is the shortest one we've had all year. So we're remarkably healthy. Basically,
coming out of the bye week, that's good news.
Yeah.
But hurting at key spots.
Correct.
Though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. Well, I mean, so I think we're all in agreement. This is a run the ball kind of game for us.
If yes, I mean, if we were the coach and we're not qualified to be the coach, and none of us
Right.
are, but that would be my recommendation to the coach if we were going.
If you're playing the Redskins on Madden, that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, you can't. I don't think. I think this defense is too good to just get one dimensional on them. Don't misunderstand me.
Oh, that's sure.
I just
sure.
think that they're a little bit more vulnerable. If we're going to get anything on them, we need to keep Kirk from throwing interceptions, and to do that, you keep him from throwing 45 times a game.
Right.
And to do that, we need to run the ball more. So
The problem I just
agreed.
see is when you look at who's getting the turnovers, it's all over their defense. It's not like one or two guys are just ball hawks.
no, it's not.
Everyone in their secondary is getting something,
Yep. Sure are.
So there's no weak link that we can just say, hey, Jordan Reed, go after wherever, the safety is and, target that spot.
Yeah, like I said, they have 10 interceptions on the season, and there are 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's 7 different guys who've gotten interceptions on this defense. So yeah, it's not
that's
just,
pretty impressive.
It's not just one Darrell Green back there grabbing every ball in sight. That's not how these
Right.
guys operate.
Right.
They're legit, they really are. But I just think that the game plan is limit the turnovers. If we limit the turnovers, we have a chance. That's the key.
Right.
Yeah.
This team
Yeah,
relies
exactly.
on turnovers, and if you look at the game, if you look at what's happened, the turnover, some of these drives that they got turnovers on were like 50-yard drives, and all of a sudden it's over, and the team doesn't get points.
Right.
That's what's been happening for at least some of it. So that is the key. And from let's review real fast where we are on offense, since we hadn't done this in 2 weeks. We are 15th in total points. 186 points
Right.
scored, 7th in total yards, which is a little bit of a downturn coming out of the bye week, just from
Right.
the nature of the statistics. 4th in yards per game, 2nd in yards per play, 5th in passing yards, 8th in passing yards per attempt, 16th in rushing yards, 7th in rushing yards per attempt. So that is where we are.
Top half throughout most
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as long as we can keep the rushing yards per attempt up, that was our big weakness in the early part of the season. As long as we can keep that up, good things will probably happen for the most part.
Well, you talked about keeping our rushing yards up. Let's talk about our defense versus the Vikings offense, because I happen to know from looking earlier that is an issue that they have, is their rushing yards per attempt. Am I right, Steve?
Well, they have a lot of problems on that. This is a bad offense, okay?
Yeah.
If you look at where we started with the Vikings in the offseason, we had Teddy Bridgewater, who was an up-and-coming quarterback, who
Right.
I believe made the Pro Bowl last year, after a bunch of alternates, if I recall. Don't hold me to that, but I think so. They had a Hall of Fame running back in Adrian Peterson. You had a fairly stout offensive line. All of them are all
Not
gone.
anymore.
They're all gone. Bridgewater's gone. Peterson's gone. Half of their offensive line is out for the season, banged up, hurt. Sam Bradford actually has not played too badly. His quarterback rating. I had it. Sorry. He's got a quarterback rating of 99, which
Right.
is better than Kirk, and it's 7th in the NFL. The reason why is he's only had one interception. His yardage, only got 1,715 yards, 27th in the NFL. He's not passing a lot.
It's a lot of short passes when he passes
the
too.
rushing game. If there's any one team we can stop from rushing the ball and not running
Right.
all over us, it's this team. Diggs is.
Yeah.
Let's hope. I mean,
Yeah, fingers
you gotta
crossed.
do your-
I know. I mean, but if there's anybody we ought to be able to stop, this is the Vikings. Not saying we are.
Right.
But, Asiata is their leading rusher. He's only averaging 3.2 yards per attempt, 227 yards. With a banged up O line.
this line, I mean, on paper at least, is not terrible. I mean, Jake Long, I mean, he's been kind of a journeyman here.
Right. Kind of a letdown,
now.
I think, compared to where people expected him to be. But
yeah, but he's not terrible. I mean, he's not. No, but and then you got Alex Boone, who's been a very good guard for a long time.
Yeah,
that's there at left guard. Joe Berger, I don't know much about. Brandon Fusco has been with the Vikings for a while, I think, isn't he? Yeah.
Well,
6 years. And then they got T.J. Clemens. So he's the weakest link on that offensive line. He's a very athletic lineman. He shows potential. Like I remember watching a lot of him in the draft before he came out. But he's very, very raw and still has not figured it out. I mean, they don't have Phil Lodeholt, who should have been there. And even then, Phil Lodeholt, I mean, as big and strong as he is, he's just not that kind of guy that can go against these explosive pass rushers.
Well, they had Matt Khalil. He's out on IR. They had Andre Smith is out for the season, IR. You know, fans will remember Andre Smith from the Combine when he was running without a shirt on and his fat was jiggling all over the place.
I actually totally forgot Andre Smith was on the team. I guess I still thought it was Phil Lodeholt. But yeah, T.J. Clemmings, though, he's a guy who could be a really good right tackle if the light bulb goes off, but he's just so raw and just doesn't quite get it, which is probably what we're going to be seeing when Vincent Painter comes out at right tackle for Morgan Moses.
Similar situation, yeah.
Very similar.
And we don't know for sure that's going to happen, but Moses he's injured, so we'll see.
Yeah. He like I said in the paper, they said his ankle is heavily taped up, but I believe he was practicing.
And just as an example, Robbie's talking about another stat out here for you. They've surrendered 21 sacks. They've caused 21 sacks on defense. They've surrendered 21 sacks because of their porous offensive line. Sam Bradford isn't a statue out there.
No, but you know what's funny? I was scanning through the stats, and as good as their defense is, their offense puts up almost the exact same numbers on every category.
They're that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's like listen to this. 21 sacks, both offense and defense. Yards per game, they're averaging 298.8 yards per game on offense. They're surrendering 298.9 yards per offense. It's literally It's literally
identical
to a tenth of a yard.
Right. And what about points? Points scored and allowed. That's got to be a little more in their favor, I imagine.
Yeah, they've scored 155 points, which is nowhere near us. That's 27th in the NFL, but they've only surrendered 126.
Basically, we just have to handle our business on offense and not screw up. Right. We got to just take care of what we got to do. We got to score more than the Vikings will. As cliche as that sounds, but it really is going to be about us beating their defense. That's really the whole game here.
That's the key. Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to be quite as obvious. Robbie's making a good point. Their offense is so bad, so unproductive right now that we really ought to be able to stop them. So the key truly is to score enough, get enough points out of this defense to win the day. That's
because while this offense of theirs is bad, the defense is what's put them in the good situations to put up points, and which leads to wins. So that's, I mean, like you said, they got 12 interceptions on the season. Is that what it was?
10 interceptions. But it's a plus 12 turnover. They've gotten a bunch of fumbles too.
There you go. So the turnover ratio is what the reason why they're
you want to listen
winning.
Listen
they're
to
putting their offense in success.
Listen to these turnovers. The game, they played the Titans, Packers, Panthers, Giants, Texans, Eagles, Bears, and Lions. Here's the turnovers: 3 per game. 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 4, 0, 1. That is an incredible amount of turnovers that they're getting. It really is. The only wild card in all that is the Eagles. They got beat 21-10 by the Eagles, and the Eagles committed 4 turnovers and somehow still lost the game. But beyond that, it's kind of held form. It's that they had a 5-game winning streak against some pretty good teams in there, but all those teams are committing turnovers. I just that's like we talked about. That's the single biggest thing. So
yep, I agree.
Yeah.
if you want to go, identify some players, what is Diggs' first name? Somebody help me out. Stephon Diggs is their leading wide receiver. He's having a good year, 48 receptions, 546 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's not world-beating, but it's a solid numbers.
He's very talented. He's a guy I still don't quite understand why he kind of flew under the radar the year he came out in the draft. He was one of my favorite receivers in the draft. That I whenever I did a mock draft online for the fun of it, he was always one of those late round guys that I picked because he'd always fell in those late rounds.
Right.
So I mean, he's showing that what he did at Maryland was not a fluke. I mean, he's still producing and doing really well when he's given the opportunity.
By the way, Robbie, are you mock drafting yet?
No, not yet.
Redskins are still in it.
I've done one or
Redskins
two.
are still in it, so.
Yeah, that's true. And no one knows what your order is going to be yet. So
I just like to point out a couple other things on here. In terms of the Vikings offense, 276 passing attempts, 26 in the NFL. They don't pass a lot relative to other teams. 214 rushing attempts. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 17th. So they're rushing more than the average team. They're passing less, but they're just very unsuccessful. They're trying and failing to rush. Averaging 2.7 yards per attempt as a team rushing. I'm telling you,
that's terrible.
It really is. We avoid the turnovers and keep the rushing yards about where they are. I think we have a good shot because this team hadn't played well. Also, is the other thing. We didn't talk about this. They've lost 3 in a row. They lost to the Eagles, the Bears, who aren't a very good team themselves. They lost in overtime to the Lions. So they're on a 3-game losing streak. And that's not to say they can't get healthy against us, but they haven't been playing well. The other thing to point out is Norv Turner resigned last week. Norv Turner, their offensive coordinator.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that. Yeah, that was.
Well,
has anyone figured out why?
After looking at what they've done, it may just be performance. The offense is not clicking. They're really injured and they lost everybody. I don't necessarily blame them because they're almost playing the second string offense at this point.
It's still odd timing though. I mean, they went 5-0 and then they lost 2, and then all of a sudden Norv Turner quits. Yeah. It's like, I mean,
maybe there's a health problem. Who knows? Maybe there's some personal thing going on with them. Who knows?
The one thing I wanted to point out before we get to our predictions here, just this week they announced that Taylor Heineke, my boy Taylor Heineke's been activated to the
Robbie's old quarterback
roster. So just a little, keep a lookout for him.
Did your heart
Sam
skip
Bradford,
a beat?
Well, no, I was happy to see it, but
is he going to be active?
All I'm going to say,
is he the second stringer now? Is he going to be active?
I don't know. Like I'm looking at the Vikings unofficial depth chart right now online, and it says Shaun Hill is second. But I mean, who knows? Probably since his first week being active, he'll be that unactive or scratched off for the game day active roster thing.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to see him, ready and kind of able to go if his number gets called, and because Sam Bradford is a very injury-prone quarterback, and then are you going to replace him with an old guy like Shaun Hill, or are you going to replace him with a pretty high potential young quarterback who can make things happen?
A guy who hasn't practiced in forever.
He'll be okay. He'll be okay, but it probably won't happen this week. I'm just saying, see what happens if Sam Bradford gets hurt.
Hey, you know what? It'd be pretty cool to see your boy Heineke play against the Redskins. I gotta say, and plus that
I don't want him. I do not want him to play against the Redskins. But
you want to see him the game after that.
You'd be conflicted in your rooting interest, I think.
I would hope for him to have a good game, but to eventually lose to the Redskins, I could deal with him putting up.
I want to know why Taylor Heineke isn't on this episode right now. He's busy. I don't think the Vikings PR would let us have him, no matter what the relationship is.
Probably not.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, no. Mr. Quarterback, you just go talk to a Redskins blog. Sure, go ahead.
Right.
I stand behind this though. If he's given his chance, he will surprise people, just like he did in college as a true freshman.
How about he's what, 6'1", right?
Yeah, about 6'1".
So just a little small for the NFL standards, like as they like to say.
Well, I mean,
But
Drew
he's
Brees
a little
is
bit-
6
but
feet
he's-
tall. I mean, he's not.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
Drew
I
Brees is 5'10", and so is Russell Wilson. He's technically taller
I
than
thought
them.
Brees was
Yeah, I
listed
know.
as bigger than Wilson. Anyway, but
Both are
the point
5'10".
is he's a little short, maybe, but I mean he's certainly within the range of NFL capable NFL player in terms of height.
I've never
Yes,
quite
absolutely.
understood where that like they have to be 6'6" mentality came from.
Well, that's not the range. The ideal range is 6'3".
Oh, okay.
That's the range that if you were going to build a quarterback, that's how he would be, at least 6'3".
Gotcha.
Right.
It's just that's
All right.
always struck me as odd. Well,
I had to bring that up.
yeah. If there's nothing else, why don't we get to predictions?
Predictions.
Let's do it.
All right.
And here's the deal. It's since we announced Robbie's leaving, I'm going to make Robbie go first for a change,
'Cause we
even
always
though we
say-
always let him go last.
Yeah. He's not
I'm
our wild-
switching it up.
He's not our big
All right.
gun anymore.
I think that this is going to be a very good game for the Redskins. Actually,
Okay.
I think we're gonna have a really good game for the defense is gonna have a really good game. I think they're gonna create a couple turnovers and kind of jump on top of the Vikings early, which will put them in a bad situation. So I'm gonna say 24-10 Redskins.
Okay. I don't think we can score that many points against them. They have not.
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think our interceptions, our turnovers that we create, will put us in that ability to put up more points
all
than
right,
normal.
fair enough.
Okay.
I don't agree, but fair enough. The Lions are the top scoring team against these guys all year, 22 points, and that was as a result of overtime. So I don't think we're going to get there, but I also think the Vikings offense is pathetic enough that they're not going to do anything either. So I think this is going to be something along the lines of a maybe 14-10 Redskins victory.
I think we're all kind of in the same boat here. It's not going to be high scoring. I have some faith. Here's what I think. I think this is going to be a special teams kind of game where special teams will be the difference maker for us, kind of like versus Baltimore. So I'm going to go 17-10 Redskins.
Got to watch out for Cordero Patterson.
That's
for
yeah,
sure.
that's a good point. So, do you guys have anything else that we want to mention last minute?
Cordell Patterson in the return game. The Vikings are actually not all that special. They're 7th in the NFL in kick returns, 6th in the NFL in punt returns.
Well, it's
That's not
top
bad.
10.
It's top 10. It's not Redskins
Yeah.
level. We're still number 1 in punt returns.
Yeah.
And Patterson's a dangerous dude. He can break
Yeah.
one at any point.
That point is,
Well,
it's not like Devin Hester back there. That's my point.
No.
Oh no.
Well, we got to watch out for it. Well, if that is it, I want to thank everybody out there for joining us for this week's episode. Keep following us at The Hogseye on Twitter and, of course, on Facebook. And keep leaving those positive reviews on iTunes. We forgot to ask for those for a while, but keep on doing that. And thank you very much for joining us. We will see you, or rather hear you, after the game.
We need a big sign off from Robbie since he made this last show. No. That's good in and of itself. That's it.